Can you imagine driving 1,000,000 miles a year, a ghost in the machine of your own life, always moving, always alone? I mean really alone, not just in the cab of your semi, but in your soul. That was me, a long-haul trucker with a rig for a home, and the endless blacktop for a view. Day in, day out, it was the same. The rumble of the engine, the smell of diesel and stale coffee, the way the headlights cut a tunnel through the pre-dawn darkness on I-80. It's a life of solitude, but you learn to make peace with it. Or so I thought. But what happens when the road, the one thing you thought you could count on, throws you a curveball that hits you right in the gut? A curveball that brings the past screaming into your rearview mirror. What happens when the quiet you've built your life around is suddenly shattered by a face you never thought you'd see again? One that you promised you'd never forget. The truth is, my life was a well-oiled machine, running on routine and the miles ticking by. My Scania, that beautiful Nardo gray beast, was my fortress, my companion. It had seen more of my life than any person ever had. We were a team, the engine and I, humming a song of forgotten dreams and the relentless need to keep moving. I was on a run to Bedim, a route I knew like the back of my hand when it happened. The kind of thing that makes you question everything you believe about fate and coincidence. I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't looking for anything, really. I was just in a rhythm, a trance of driving, pushing through the miles to the next truck stop. My mind was on the next cup of joe, the next stretch of the legs. I was just on my way, right? But then, on that treacherous bend on the BR 116, that one single bend that had haunted my memories for 2 decades, I saw something. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't a road sign. It was something that froze my hands on the wheel and slammed the brakes on my very existence. A flicker in the rain that stopped my rig and everything I thought I knew about my life. I saw her. And in that 1 second, time didn't just slow down. It went backward. All the years melted away, and I was just a young man again, full of promises, and a love I couldn't hold on to. The ghost of my past wasn't in my memory anymore. It was standing right there in the headlights, in the pouring rain. A face I had loved, a face I had left behind, a face that was suddenly and inexplicably back in my life. And in that moment, as the air brakes hissed, it felt like the entire universe had been waiting just for this moment, for this single heart-stopping, life-altering encounter. I didn't know what to do. My heart was pounding, the old familiar ache returning as if it had never left. I had a choice to make. Drive on, pretend I didn't see her, and let the road swallow that memory once and for all. Or stop and face the very thing I had been running from for all these years. What do you do in a moment like that? Stay with me, because what I did next, and the incredible, unbelievable story that unfolded on that very road, might just change the way you see the journey of your own life. This is the story of how a promise broken on the blacktop came back to haunt me, and what happened when I decided to face my ghost instead of running from it. At that moment on the road, with the rain coming down and my heart pounding, I wasn't just a trucker anymore. I was a man facing the ghost of his past, a choice I had been avoiding for 2 decades. It makes you wonder, if you had that chance to go back, to face that one big regret, would you have the courage to stop, to pull over and face it, or would you just keep driving? I have to know. If you've ever had a moment like that in your life, that feeling of what if, of a chance that got away, leave a comment below. Your story matters, and by sharing it, we build a community here. A community of people who understand that the road isn't just about miles. It's about life. And if this story has touched you, if you feel that ache of a memory that just won't fade, please take a second to hit that like button. It's a simple thing, but it helps these emotional stories these real-life moments from the road get to more people who might need to hear them. So, if you're on this journey with me, if you want to keep hearing about the extraordinary lives lived on the blacktop, make sure you're subscribed. And hey, don't forget to ring that bell so you never miss a beat of these true tales. Because what happened next on that lonely stretch of highway, with my past standing there in the rain, well, that's where the real story begins. And that's when it all came flooding back. That old feeling, the one I'd spent 20 years trying to outrun with a diesel engine and a heavy right foot. Seeing her standing there, a ghost in my headlights. It wasn't just a memory. It was an entire movie reel of my life, playing out in a single heart-stopping moment. It took me back to a small town, a place I haven't seen since I drove away, and a girl with a smile that could light up a dusty summer night. Back then, I wasn't Silverio, the trucker. I was just Silver, a kid with big dreams and a broken-down pickup, working any job I could to save enough for a down payment on a rig. I had a different future in mind then. A future with her, Lucinda. We'd sit on the porch of her blue house, the sound of crickets in the air, and we'd talk about everything. Our dreams, our fears, the life we'd build together. Her dream was to be a teacher, to inspire kids. My dream was a little less noble. I just wanted to own my own truck, to be my own boss, to be free. But the plan was always that freedom would be for us, not just for me. I promised her, right there by her front gate, the night before I left. A quick kiss, a whispered promise. I'll be back for you, Lou. It was a simple promise, an easy one to make. But life, as we all know, has a funny way of twisting our intentions, doesn't it? The first long haul turned into 2, then 3. The money was good, the freedom intoxicating. The road, it's a siren song. You tell yourself you'll go home after this one last trip, then another, and another. And before you know it, years have passed, and the person you promised the world to is just a faded picture in your mind, a name whispered on a lonely night in the cab. You start to believe that they've moved on, that they've forgotten about you. You tell yourself it was for the best, that the road was your true calling, your real home. But deep down, you know that's a lie. It's just a different kind of prison. A prison made of steel and miles, and a heavy, suffocating silence. A loneliness that feels earned, a self-inflicted wound. That's the truth behind the curtain of a trucker's life. It's not all open roads and big skies. There's a quiet regret that rides shotgun with you, day in and day out. That's the secret truth of a life on the road. The constant movement is just a way to outrun a past that always seems to be in your rearview mirror, getting closer with every passing mile. Lucinda wasn't just a girl I left behind. She was the anchor I cut loose, my heart, my home. And I had traded it all for a steel box on wheels. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. A lot of people think that the toughest part of being a trucker is the physical toll, the long hours, the bad food. But the real challenge is mental. It's the emotional weight you carry, the what-ifs and the could-have-beens. It's the constant internal monologue, the dialogue with your own decisions. It's the transformation of a wide-eyed kid into a grizzled road warrior, a change you barely even notice until you're staring at the person you used to be in the face. My story isn't just about a trucker and a girl. It's about a journey of self-discovery, a look behind the curtain of a life of solitude. It's about the hidden cost of the choices we make and the unexpected ways the universe conspires to make us face them. This impact of past choices, the way they shape our present, it's a fundamental part of the human experience, isn't it? And on the road, where you have nothing but time to think, those thoughts can become your entire reality. This is the story of how that reality, my carefully constructed world of solitude, was shattered in an instant. This is about what happened when the road brought me face to face with the ultimate challenge, a truth I had been avoiding my whole life. I think a lot of you out there can relate to that feeling, that mental adade of keeping your head down and pushing forward, hoping the past will just stay there. If this resonates with you in any way, if you've ever had to confront a ghost from your past, a decision that still haunts you, I want to hear about it. Tell me in the comments. Just type, "That hit home," and let me know I'm not alone in this feeling. I saw her, and for a split second, I didn't know what was real. Was this a trick of the light, a ghost conjured by the lonely miles and the guilt in my heart? The headlights from my Scania cut through the rain, and there she was, standing on the shoulder of the road, just like in my memory. A little older, yes, but with that same stubborn, resolute posture. She was a silhouette against the storm, and I knew instantly. That was Lucinda. The air brakes hissed, a long drawn-out sigh that seemed to echo my own internal turmoil. The truck, my beautiful brute, my companion for all these years, shuddered to a halt. It was the only thing I could do. My hands, they were shaking on the steering wheel, and I realized I hadn't just stopped the rig. I had stopped my entire life. The road, which had been my escape, was now a mirror. I was looking at the past I had left behind, a past that had somehow managed to catch up to me. The engine rumbled, a steady beat beneath the chaos in my chest. The wipers swished back and forth, a metronome for the moment. But nothing could clear the fog in my mind, the whirlwind of emotions that were crashing down on me. Seeing her there, it was more than just a memory given form. It was a confrontation. It was my promise, my regret, my entire history standing there in the rain waiting for me. I felt the voice of Pix, my old talkative partner, in my head, asking me if I was afraid. To live. I was. I was terrified. But this was more than just fear. This was a crossroads, a moment of truth. You see, the impact of a single choice can last a lifetime. And for me, that choice was leaving her. For 20 years, I'd been living with the consequences of that choice. The solitude, the endless roads, the way I built my life around the idea of not needing anyone. It was a lie, a carefully constructed story I told myself to justify my decisions. My journey had been about outrunning a feeling, and here it was, a feeling with a face. The Scania was still, the lights on the dashboard glowing like a million. Tiny stars, a quiet universe inside the roaring storm outside. The smell of rain on hot asphalt filled the cab, a scent that's part of every trucker's life. But this time, it was different. It was the smell of a new beginning, or maybe the bitter scent of a final end. This wasn't just another stop. It was the moment where my entire mental adade had to change. The road had brought me to her, and for the first time in forever, I felt a new kind of power. Not the power of a big engine or a heavy hull, but the power to choose. To choose to stop, to choose to face my past. My truck, my life, was an open book, and she was the unwritten chapter I had always carried with me. Now she was standing there, pages and all, on the shoulder of the road. I knew I couldn't just drive away. Not this time. My heart, the one thing I had thought was just a muscle, was beating a rhythm of its own, a song I hadn't heard in years. And it was singing her name. All the revelations that had been hidden in the lonely miles, they were now laid bare. My life on the road, the transformation I had gone through, it was all leading to this moment. The moment where I had to decide if my life was a story of a man running away or a man finally brave enough to come back. This wasn't just a flashback. This was a full-on collision between who I was and who I could have been. I have to know. Have you ever had a moment like this, where the past and present collide in an instant? Tell me in the comments. Just write "caught up to me" and let me know you get it. My Scania shuddered to a halt, the air brakes hissing a long drawn-out sigh. I just sat there, my hands still gripping the wheel like a lifeline. I couldn't move. She was there, in the pouring rain, looking just as she had 20 years ago, with a strength that both drew me in and terrified me. I opened the passenger door, and the cab, my private sanctuary, was invaded by the past. She climbed in, shaking the water from her jacket, and the small space filled with a scent I hadn't realized I'd missed. A mix of gentle perfume and an old memory I couldn't quite place. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The cab was silent, but it wasn't empty. It was full of everything we hadn't said for 2 decades. The hum of the truck's engine was the only sound, a backdrop to the swirling thoughts in my head. We just sat there, 2 strangers who knew each other's souls, lost in a quiet that was more deafening than any noise. The wipers moved back and forth, a metronome for our thoughts, and the road outside blurred into a watercolor of wet asphalt and flashing headlights. I didn't know what to say. I just stared straight ahead, my hands still on the wheel. She was looking out the window, her fingers wrapped tightly in her lap. We were both carrying a heavy cargo, but it wasn't on the trailer. It was right there. Between us. She finally spoke, her voice a little rougher than I remembered, but still carrying the same calm authority. She told me her car had broken down, that she was just waiting for a tow truck. A simple, ordinary explanation for something so extraordinary. I asked if she was okay, and she looked at me with a sad smile, a smile that had a whole hidden truth behind it. She said she was now. It was a simple phrase, but the weight of it, the impact of those 2 words, hit me like a ton of bricks. It was a revelation. I knew what she meant. She was okay, now that she had finally found the man she had been waiting for all those years ago. The one who broke his promise. I didn't try to hide my surprise. I just told her I never thought I'd see her again, especially not here, on this curve of all places. She just nodded, her eyes full of a wisdom that only years of pain can bring. She reminded me that this was the very spot where I told her I had to leave, where I had sworn I would come back. It's a funny thing about life and about the road. It has a way of bringing you back to where you started, but never in the way you expect. My journey had been a transformation, a slow change into a man who was afraid to stop, afraid to go back. But here I was, stopped, and facing the very thing I had been running from. And then, the quiet was broken by a different kind of noise. A crackle of static from the CB radio on my dashboard. A voice, one I knew, came through. "Hey, Silver, is that you out there? Saw you pull over. What's the story? You got a beautiful lady in your passenger seat." The voice was laughing, and a knot formed in my stomach. The CB radio is the heart of the trucking community. It can be a lifeline, a source of company, but it can also be a rumor mill, a source of gossip and judgment. And I knew that in a few minutes, my hidden truth would be everybody's business. That was the mental adage of the road. Everybody knows. Everything and everyone has an opinion. I tried to ignore it, to pretend it was just a joke, but the comments kept coming. Other voices joined in, speculating, joking, and judging. It was a glimpse into the tough reality of the road, where your private life isn't always your own. I saw Lucinda flinch, her shoulders tensing up. The cab, which had felt like a refuge, now felt like a cage. She offered to get out at the next truck stop to avoid causing me any trouble. My heart sank. I knew I couldn't let her go. Not again. This wasn't just about gossip. This was about making a different choice. A choice to not let the words of others dictate my own decisions. I switched off the radio, and in the sudden silence, with only the engine humming, I realized something important. The biggest challenge wasn't the road or the other truckers. It was standing up for what felt right, for the person in the passenger seat, no matter what anyone else had to say. Now, I want to go even deeper into this. The road can be a lonely place, but it's also a place where you're never truly alone. The stories, the rumors, the judgments, they travel with you. It makes you wonder, do you think it's possible to live your life freely when you're constantly under the watch of others? What do you think? Can you ever escape the judgment? Comment with no escape if you think the road always has its eyes on you. The silence in. The cab after I switched off the CB was heavy, but it was a different kind of silence than before. It wasn't the silence of things unsaid. It was the quiet of a shared defiance, a bond forming in the face of judgment. Lucinda was tense, her arms crossed, staring out at the rain-slicked asphalt, but she didn't ask me to stop. She didn't say a word. My gaze kept flicking to the rearview mirror. I was looking for more than just the road behind us. I was looking for a sign, an echo of the talk on the airwaves, a physical representation of the prying eyes I knew were on us. And then I saw it, the unmistakable blue and gold of a highway patrol car, glued to my bumper dot. My stomach dropped. This was no longer just a matter of gossip and opinion. This was authority. I glanced at Lucinda, and she was staring at the mirror too, her face pale. She recognized it. "It's Dario," she said, her voice a low whisper. "My ex-brother-in-law." I felt a new kind of anger flare up inside me. It wasn't just my past I had to deal with. It was her past, her family, her struggles, all crashing into my reality. "He's the type who doesn't listen," she told me. "A man who always thought she was too fragile to make her own decisions after his brother passed." I pulled the Scania over, the big rig sighing as it came to a stop. The patrol car pulled in right behind us. The officer who stepped out was a man with a tense face and an air of absolute control. My past had come back, and now her family was trying to drag her back to hers. It was a clash of two very different worlds. Dario, the patrolman, asked for my paperwork, his eyes never really on the documents, but on Lucinda. "Lucinda, are you all right?" he asked, his tone paternal and full of suspicion. Lucinda's response was firm, a voice I hadn't heard before, one that was strong and independent. "I'm fine, Dario. I'm here by choice." He didn't like that answer. The revelations that followed were quick and sharp. He mentioned the CB gossip, the worries of her family, the disappearance she was causing. He was trying to assert his authority, to push her back into the box he thought she belonged in. But she wasn't having it. "Natural is trusting people, Dario. I am with a man who respects me." That sentence, those words, hit me with a force even a head-on collision couldn't match. This wasn't just a confrontation. This was a transformation. For her, the quiet, reserved woman in the cab was gone. In her place was a woman who had found her voice, a woman who wasn't afraid to stand up for her choices, even to family, even to the law. She stood her ground, facing him down, her eyes full of a fire that had been extinguished for years. It was a breathtaking show of courage, a reminder of the strong woman I had fallen in love with all those years ago. And in that moment, my role changed. I wasn't just a trucker who gave a ride. I was a man who was standing beside the woman he loved, a man who was willing to fight for her right to be free. The impact of her words, of her stand, was felt by everyone. Dario, seeing her resolve, finally backed down. He gave a quiet warning and left. As she got back into the truck, her chest was heaving, but her eyes were clear. We hadn't just defeated a challenge. We had conquered a piece of her past. My journey had been one of running, but now it was a journey of standing still, of being present. The road was no longer my escape. It was our path. The truth was, she wasn't just a passenger anymore. She was a choice I was ready to fight for. This was the moment that changed the entire trip. This was no longer just a ride. It was a stand. A mental adage shift from being a lone wolf to being a protector. I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling of having to stand up for someone you care about, even when the whole world seems to be against you. It's a real moment of truth. What would you do in a situation like that? Tell me. Just write "stand my ground" in the comments. The tension from the roadside confrontation slowly started to fade, replaced by a new kind of quiet in the cab. It was a silence filled with unspoken emotions, the kind that only exists between two people who have just been through a war together. The road stretched out before us, a dark ribbon of asphalt under a cloudy sky. We drove on, the steady rumble of the Scania providing a comforting backdrop to our thoughts. I knew we couldn't just keep driving. We needed to stop, to talk, to face the revelations that had just been laid bare. I pulled into a truck stop, one of those classic places with the smell of old coffee, fried food, and diesel fuel hanging in the air. The kind of place that's a home away from home for guys like me. But with Lucinda beside me, it felt different. It felt like a crossroads, a place where a journey could change direction entirely. We sat at a small table, sipping coffee from thick mugs, the din of truckers and waitresses providing a kind of background hum to our intensely private moment. She started to talk, and her words were a confession, a hidden truth that she had carried with her for years. "I'm not just going to my sister's because my car broke down, Silver. I'm going because I'm selling the house." The house. The one she had lived in with her late husband. The one that was supposed to be her home forever. The news hit me hard. It was a bold decision, a final act of letting go. She told me the house felt empty, too big, too full of memories that weren't just hers anymore. She was a widow, she explained, but she was also a woman who needed to find herself again. To start over. The impact of her words was profound. She wasn't running from anything. She was running toward something. A new life. A life where she could maybe, just maybe, go back to her dream of teaching, of helping others. She looked at me then, her eyes direct, unwavering. "And you, Silver, are you still going to keep driving all over the country by yourself?" My heart was pounding. It was the question I had been asking myself for years. The very mental adage I had built my life around was being challenged. I looked at her, at the woman I had left behind, at the woman who was now ready to face her future, and I felt a new kind of honesty well up inside me. I told her the truth. I told her that the truck, my life on the road, it had felt like everything to me. But lately, a strange emptiness had started to creep in. That the road, my home, felt like a prison. That something was missing. My admission, my revelations, hung in the air between us. A raw and honest exchange of two souls who had been apart for too long. She looked at me, a soft, sad smile on her lips. "The years had been hard on us, haven't they?" she said. I nodded. "We've both changed. A lot." But her next words, they are what changed everything. They were the turning point of my entire journey. "I don't know if there's a place for you in my life, Silver, but I know there's a place for a new life. And maybe, just maybe, you fit in there." It was a question, a plea, a hope. She was telling me that I wasn't just a ghost from her past. I could be a part of her future. And now, the question wasn't just about her anymore. It was about me, my decisions, my life, my transformation. Was I ready to stop running? Was I ready to stop being just a memory? The choice was mine to make. The past was laid bare. The present was in my hands. The future, for the first time in a long time, was uncertain. It was a beautiful, terrifying place to be. I think a lot of people have that feeling. That moment where you have to decide if you're a part of the past or if you're ready to embrace the future. It's a powerful feeling. What do you think? Is it possible to truly start over? to leave the past behind completely? Tell me in the comments. Just write, ready for a new life. And let me know you're with me. After that conversation at the truck stop, the silence in the cab was different. It wasn't the heavy, awkward quiet of two strangers. It was the silence of two people on the verge of a new beginning, a silence full of possibilities and terrifying decisions. My heart was a drum against my ribs, beating out a rhythm I hadn't heard in years. We drove on, the steady rumble of the Scania a constant hum beneath our thoughts. The road was the same as it had been, a familiar gray ribbon stretching into the darkness, but I was no longer the same man. My mental state had shifted. I wasn't running anymore. I was moving with purpose, a new kind of purpose. I knew what I had to do. I had to go back to the very spot where it all began again, the curve, the place where I had first seen her, a ghost in my headlights, standing in the rain. I had to go back and face that moment, not with fear, but with a new kind of courage. I had to turn a place of haunted memory into a place of new beginnings. The road, my lifelong companion, was now a partner in a brand new journey. I knew the way. Every bump, every slight bend, every dip in the asphalt was etched in my mind from 1,000 trips before. But this time, I wasn't just driving. I was on a mission to fix a broken promise, to change the course of my life, to make a new decision that wasn't born of fear. As I neared the curve, my foot eased off the gas. The Scania, a creature of habit, seemed to sense the change. It coasted, the engine's growl softening, almost as if it was waiting for my command. The rain was coming down again, a light, steady shower, and the road was shiny under the moonlight. The same curve, the same patch of shoulder. One could almost see her there. Again, the wind whipping at her jacket, the rain in her hair. It was a powerful, beautiful, and heartbreaking revelation. This place wasn't just a part of the road. It was a portal, a link between my past and my future. I knew what I had to do. I reached up and pulled the horn, a long, drawn-out blast that echoed through the night. Not a warning, not a friendly hello, but a statement, a declaration. I pulled it again, a second time, a third. 3 deep, resonant blasts of the horn. My truck's horn, the sound of my lonely life, was now the voice of my soul. It was a message sent out into the night to the woman who was now miles behind me, a message that I hoped against all hope she would hear. It was my way of saying, I'm here. I'm not running anymore. I'm not afraid. I'm choosing you. The impact of that decision, that one simple, loud act, was immense. It was a release of 2 decades of guilt, a transformation of my lonely journey into a shared one. My truck, my sanctuary, was now a beacon of hope. My life, my carefully constructed world of solitude, was no longer defined by what I had left behind. It was now defined by what I was willing to come back for. My truth was no longer hidden. It was loud, clear, and echoing through the night. The road, which I had thought was a means of escape, was really just a path back home. And now I was on my way. I have to know. What do you think of a moment like that, where a simple, loud action can change everything? If you had to use your horn to send a message, what would it be? Tell me in the comments. Just write Horn of Hope and let me know you're with me on this crazy ride. The 3 blasts of the horn echoed into the night, a sound that carried a hidden truth I had been trying to ignore for years. I didn't know if she would hear it, didn't know if she would understand. But as I started to drive away from that curve, a new kind of anxiety set in, one that felt more like hope than fear. And then, as I rounded the bend, I saw it. A small car pulled over to the side of the road, its headlights cutting a soft glow through the mist. As I got closer, my heart in. My throat, I saw her. It was Lucinda's car, and she was standing beside it, her face turned toward me, the rain washing away the years of pain. I slowed the Scania to a crawl, my eyes locked on hers. It wasn't a movie scene, no dramatic music, no slow-motion run. It was just us, two people on the side of a lonely highway, finally finding our way back to each other. I pulled over, my truck's engine a low purr as I cut the power. The silence was back, but this time it was a beautiful, peaceful silence. We both got out of our cars and walked toward each other, the rain a steady beat against our jackets. She looked at me, a soft smile on her face. I heard the horn silver. I was on my way back to Snowboria, but when I passed this curve, something pulled me to stop, and then I heard it. I knew it was you. My heart soared. This wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't just a random encounter. It was a cosmic revelation. We had both been drawn back to this one single spot, this one moment in time, to face our past and choose our future. The impact of her words was immense. I had been hoping for a sign, for a message in the bottle, but she had been there all along, waiting. We didn't need to say anything else. We both knew. The road had brought us back to each other. We got back into my truck, the cab now feeling like a new place, a real home. She sat in the passenger seat, and as I started the engine, she reached out and placed her hand on mine, which was resting on the gear shift. Her hand was warm and firm, a silent promise, a new kind of pact. It wasn't a grand gesture. It was a simple, honest connection. It was a transformation from two separate journeys into one shared path. My lonely road was no longer lonely. My truck, my sanctuary, was now a shared space, a place where memories could be replaced with new moments. Her hand on mine was a symbol, a physical representation of our new partnership. We were in this together, two hands on the wheel, one mind, one heart. The mental aid of a lone wolf was gone, replaced by a new kind of courage. The courage to be vulnerable, to be open, to not be afraid of what the future held, because we would be facing it together. My life on the road, my solitary existence, had been a lesson in what I didn't want. And now I had found what I did. The truth was, love isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. And for the first time in 20 years, I was truly present. The road was a part of our story, not the whole thing. It was a backdrop, a setting for our new beginning. The impact of this moment, this reunion on the side of the road, would shape our lives forever. We weren't two broken people trying to fix each other. We were two strong individuals who had found their way back to a love that had never truly died. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. I think we all have a curve, a point in our lives where we have to make a choice, a point where our past and our future collide. What do you think? Can a place, a single spot on a map, really hold the power to change everything? Comment with Road to Us if you think a place can have that kind of magic. With Lucinda back in the passenger seat, the road looked different. The endless stretch of asphalt, which had once felt like a prison of my own making, now felt like a path. The rumble of the engine, which had once been a lonely companion, was now a backdrop to a shared silence, a comfortable quiet that I had never known before. My mental aid had completely shifted. I wasn't just a trucker anymore. I was a man on a journey, and for the first time in years, I had a partner. I looked at her, her head resting against the window, a soft smile on her face, and I knew this wasn't just a trip. It was a new life. I spent so many years thinking about the cargo I was carrying, the weight of the freight, the deadlines, the miles. But the hidden truth was that the heaviest load I ever hauled wasn't on my trailer. It was in my heart. The guilt of a broken promise. the pain of a lost love, the quiet regret that rode shotgun with me day in and day out. That's the impact of a choice made decades ago. It just sits there, a silent passenger, weighing you down more than any load of steel or concrete ever could. But now, with Lucinda sitting next to me, with her hand on my arm, with her presence filling the cab, that heavy cargo was gone, replaced by something else. Replaced by her Dot. She was the most precious cargo I had ever carried. She wasn't a burden. She wasn't a weight. She was a reason. A reason to keep driving. A reason to find a new path. A reason to finally stop running. My life on the road had been a long, lonely transformation. A slow change into a man who had forgotten how to feel. But in just a few days, on this very road, Lucinda had brought me back to life. She was a revelation. She showed me that the road wasn't just an escape. It was a mirror. It reflected all my fears, all my regrets, all my missed opportunities. But with her, it could also reflect a future where the cab wasn't a sanctuary of solitude, but a home for two hearts. My truck, my beautiful Scania, was no longer just a machine. It was a vehicle for a new beginning. I thought I had been living a life of freedom, but I was wrong. I was living a life of fear. Fear of stopping, fear of going back, fear of facing the truth. But Lucinda, with her quiet strength and her unwavering resolve, had shown me what true freedom was. It wasn't about being alone. It was about having the courage to make a decision, to choose to love again, to choose to build a new life. Even if it's on a road full of bumps and curves. The road still goes on. The miles still tick by. But now, the journey is different. It's not about running away from something. It's about driving toward something. It's about two hearts, finally on the same path, ready to face whatever the road throws at us together. Now I want to go even deeper into this. I think we all have our own kind of precious cargo we carry with us, whether it's a dream, a memory, or a person. What's the most precious cargo you've ever carried? The one that changed your entire journey? Tell me in the comments. Just write precious cargo and let me know what you think. The road ahead of us stretched out under a mix of sun and clouds, a perfect reflection of the emotional weather inside our cab. I glanced at Lucinda beside me. She was sleeping peacefully, her head against the window, the soft light of the morning on her face. The solitude I had once craved was gone, replaced by a feeling of peace I hadn't known was possible. This whole journey, this whole trip, had been a revelation. It wasn't about a broken car. It wasn't about a pickup. It wasn't even just about us. It was about all of it. About the hidden truth of a life on the road, about the impact of the decisions we make, and about the courage it takes to stop running from a past that just won't let go. I used to think my mental aid was about being tough, about being self-sufficient. But Lucinda, with her quiet strength and her unwavering truth, showed me the real meaning of courage. It's not about how far you can run. It's about when you choose to stop. Our story, this improbable reunion on a forgotten curve of the highway, is a testament to that. We didn't plan it. We didn't expect it. The road, which is often seen as a place of endless goodbyes, had somehow become our place for a cooler, new beginning. So as I drive on, with her beside me, I want to leave you with this thought. We all have a road. We all have a past we've tried to outrun. We all have a curve where our lives change. My truck, my transformation from a lonely driver into a man with a partner. It's proof that sometimes the most important thing you can carry isn't the freight on your trailer. It's the courage in your heart. This story is just one of many, a small glimpse into the bastidors, the behind-the-scenes life of a trucker. But it's a powerful one. So let me ask you, if the love of your life appeared on your road, right there in your headlights, what would you do? Would you keep driving? Or would you have the courage to stop? If this story touched you, if it made you feel something, leave a comment down below and tell me what was the curve in your life that changed everything. And if you want to keep hearing these true stories from the road, these tales of heartache and hope, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can keep sharing these stories of the road 1 mile at a time. The road of life is long, but it's always better with the right company and a little courage. Now tell me, what would you do? My Scania is still rolling. A lot quieter now, but with a lot more heart. And if you made it this far, if you stuck with me and Lucinda through every curve, every roadside confrontation, and every moment of honest silence, then you get it. This isn't just about trucking. It's about life and finding the courage to face your ghosts. If this story resonated with you, if it made you feel a little less alone on your own journey, then do me a favor. Just hit that like button. It's how I know these stories are connecting, that they're finding the people who need to hear them. And if you're on this road with me, if you want more tales of the heart and the highway, make sure you're subscribed. Every subscription is a new partner on this wild ride. It tells me to keep the engine running. And hey, if you're with me to the very end of this one, let me know. Drop a comment below and just write, I'm with you for the long haul. And if you want to keep this journey going, there's another story right here on the screen that's waiting for you. Just click on it and let's keep the miles rolling.